My name is Jessica Hamilton. I'm 41 years old, and the last time my father looked me in the eye, he told me I was a disgrace to the Hamilton name. That was 3 years ago, standing in the parking lot after my grandmother's funeral. Today, I'm in a military courtroom, watching him shift uncomfortably in the front row as the bailiff calls the room to order. He doesn't realize I'm the lead prosecutor. Growing up as a Hamilton carried weight in our small Virginia town. My father, Colonel Richard Hamilton, was a decorated Army officer whose presence commanded respect everywhere. My older brother, Marcus, followed directly in his footsteps. West Point, Ranger School, 2 tours in Afghanistan. The golden child. The perfect son. Everything I was told I wasn't. Why can't you be more like your brother? Was practically the soundtrack of my youth. When Marcus made varsity football, Dad bought him a car. When I graduated as valedictorian, he told me grades didn't matter as much as character. Marcus's acceptance to West Point was celebrated with a 50-person party. When I got into Georgetown Law, Dad simply asked if I was sure I could handle the workload. The pattern never changed. Marcus received the pride, the attention, the investment. I got what was left over, a role in family photos, but never the focus. After law school, I joined the Judge Advocate General's Corps. To Dad, it wasn't real military work. Paper pushing, he called it. Real soldiers carry rifles, not briefcases. Marcus, newly promoted to major, laughed right along with him. They had their exclusive club, and I wasn't a member. The breaking point came at Marcus's promotion ceremony 2 years ago. Dad stood behind the podium, pride swelling in his voice as he spoke of his son's courage and service to the nation. "This is the Hamilton legacy," he declared, gesturing toward Marcus in his immaculate dress blues. I sat near the back in my own dress uniform, having driven 4 hours to be there. 3 rows of ribbons adorned my chest, some Marcus would never earn, but Dad's gaze never once found me. After the ceremony, relatives flocked to Marcus. I stood alone by the punch bowl until my cousin Jenny approached with that familiar condescending smirk. "Still playing lawyer in the Army?" she asked. "Must be nice to have such a safe job." "Something like that," I replied evenly. "Well, someone has to handle the paperwork," she said, glancing toward Marcus. "Not everyone can be a real soldier like him and Uncle Richard." I excused myself and drove home to Fort Belvoir, spending the weekend buried in case files for a court-martial involving a colonel accused of misappropriating funds. At first, it seemed routine. It wasn't. The investigation uncovered far more than a single officer's misconduct. We traced financial irregularities into a web of corruption spanning multiple bases, tainted equipment contracts, construction kickbacks, personnel assignments bought and sold. At the center of it all was a name I knew better than any other, Colonel Richard Hamilton. The evidence was damning: bank transfers, encrypted messages, sworn statements from contractors. My father had been profiting for over a decade, using his rank and reputation to push through deals that drained millions from taxpayers and endangered soldiers with inferior gear. The choice to prosecute wasn't mine alone. The scope and political weight of the case meant it went to the highest levels. But when the JAG Corps needed someone with the skill and clearance to handle classified evidence, my name was put forward. "Hamilton," the general said during our briefing, "I know this is complicated. Are you prepared to handle it with complete professionalism?" "Yes, sir," I answered without hesitation. Justice doesn't carry a family name. That was 6 months ago. 6 months of building an airtight case while watching my father maintain his facade of honor. He never suspected I was behind the prosecution. Why would he? In his eyes, I was still the disappointment, the desk-bound officer who could never live up to the family legacy. 3 weeks ago, Marcus called. "Dad's in a bit of trouble," he said. "Some overzealous prosecutors trying to make a name for themselves." He stressed, "Thinking about getting a civilian lawyer." "That might be wise," I replied evenly. "The preliminary hearings next week. Dad was hoping you'd come. Show family support. It might look good to have another uniform in the room." I nearly laughed. After years of belittling my service, now they wanted me there as a prop. "I'll see what I can do," I told him. And so here I am, standing at the prosecution table while my father sits 20 feet away beside his expensive attorney. He hasn't once looked back. Marcus, who flew in from Fort Carson, hasn't either. They sit surrounded by relatives, whispering, likely plotting how to paint this as a witch hunt. The bailiff calls the court to attention. All rise for the Honorable Judge, Colonel Patricia Chun. Judge Chun enters, her own rows of ribbons a testament to a career marked by toughness and fairness. She has no patience for corruption. This preliminary hearing, she begins, surveying the room, will determine whether sufficient evidence exists to proceed with court-martial proceedings against Colonel Richard Hamilton. Proceed, Judge Chin announces, her voice carrying the weight of decades in uniform, every ribbon and star earned through grit and service. The prosecution may deliver its opening statement. I rise, feeling the familiar weight of my dress uniform and the press of ribbons against my chest. This is it, the moment that 20 years of service, effort, and disappointment have been leading toward. I had once believed my purpose was to earn my father's respect. Now I know he never earned mine. Your Honor, the United States will prove that the accused systematically violated the trust placed in him. I begin. I've barely reached the second sentence when I hear it, a sharp breath from the defense table. Then another, and another. My father has turned to face me at last. His skin is pale, his jaw slack, eyes locked on me in stunned disbelief. Marcus is staring too, mouth slightly open. Even the high-priced civilian attorney is darting glances between us like he's just realized he's misread the entire situation. I press on, my voice steady as I outline the charges: tax evasion, bribery, conspiracy, fraud, each word measured, precise and deliberate. I don't let a trace of the years of personal hurt seep into my tone. From the gallery comes a wave of low murmurs. Jenny, the one who once called me a paper pusher, is furiously texting. My aunt is gripping her handbag like it's a shield. Others fidget in their seats, finally piecing together why the so-called family disappointment is standing here in a prosecutor's uniform. When I finish, Judge Chun gives a firm nod. Thank you, Major Hamilton. Defense, you may proceed. The attorney stands, but there's a crack in his composure now. He's not facing the overeager rookie he'd imagined. He's looking at a field-grade officer with 2 decades in military justice and clearance levels he can only dream of. Your Honor, he begins. My client has served with honor for over 30 years. The words are standard, but the conviction behind them is gone. He knows what I know, the evidence is airtight, and the prosecution won't make the mistakes he'd been counting on. As he speaks, I meet my father's gaze. For the first time in my life, there's a flicker of something like respect in his eyes. Not pride, that's long gone, but recognition. The irony is sharp. After decades chasing his approval, I found my purpose not in earning it, but in dismantling the very legacy he thought I should uphold. The disappointment daughter has become the prosecutor who will end his career. During the first recess, Marcus approaches my table. His face is ashen, hence trembling. Jess, he murmurs, what the hell is going on? I keep my tone even. Justice, Marcus. Finally, he's our father. He's also a criminal. Those aren't mutually exclusive. You can't do this to the family. I close the file I'm reviewing and meet his eyes. The family did this to itself. I'm just making sure the consequences are real. Before he can respond, Judge Chin returns, and we take our seats. For 3 more hours, the hearing moves forward. Witness testimony, evidence, arguments. Piece by piece, the picture forms. A career built on a foundation of bribery, fraud, and betrayal of the uniform. When it's done, Judge Chin wastes no time. The court finds sufficient evidence to proceed with court-martial. The accused will surrender his passport and remain on base pending trial. She lists the possible penalties: dismissal from service, loss of retirement, federal prison. The gavel falls, final and heavy. As people begin to leave, my relatives avoid my eyes. The same people who once ignored me at family gatherings now look at me like I've committed treason. My father steps toward the prosecution table. For a moment, we stand face to face, 2 officers on opposite sides of justice. You've destroyed everything, he says quietly. No, I reply. You did that. I just recorded the proof. He studies me, and I see the faintest glimmer of understanding. I always knew you were smart. I just never thought you'd use it against me. I'm not using it against you, Dad. I'm using it for justice. That's not the same thing. Without another word, he turns and walks away, leaving me alone in the emptying courtroom. Tomorrow, The trial preparations begin in earnest, a case that will likely end his military career and send him to prison. But tonight, for the first time in my life, I am not the disappointing Hamilton. I am Major Jessica Hamilton, JAG Corps, lead prosecutor in one of the largest corruption cases the Army has seen in decades. This moment is mine, earned through years of service, countless hours of study, and an unshakable commitment to the oath I swore as an officer. Not because of my family name, but in defiance of it. As I step outside, my phone buzzes with a text from my commanding officer. Outstanding work today, Major. The Corps is proud to have you. The Hamilton legacy may be ending, but my story has only begun.